Good morning, Karthik.
Good morning, Karthik.
Good morning, Karthik.
Hey, good morning. All right. So yesterday we just built the data center, which it is this, right? We just created the VPC and all the dependency also we have created. I mean, what are the dependency in the sense? Let me open that presentation. So fine. So these are the dependency, which it is nothing but your route table, subnet association, internet gateway, subnets, all these dependency components we just built it, right? Now let's try to deploy, let us try to spin up some server on top of your data center. And on top of the server, we could deploy some application. Then from an end user, if anybody want to ping those application, how the traffic does it is going to behave, let's see that. So at this point in time, I'm just going to, spin up the server and deploy our application. Before that, we need to whitelist what are the protocol do we need to allow to reach our data center. So in AWS, we are having, 4 types of firewall we do have. So under the firewall, we can able to whitelist. In AWS, we do have 4 types of firewall. One which it is security group, right? And NACL, network access control list, and WAF, web access firewall. So this is web access firewall, and NACL, which it is nothing but network access control list, network access control list, and security group. So totally we do have 3 categories at this point in time, not 4. One still did not launch, but it is under the testing. I will show you, but you can see the components, but it is not it is not allowed for to use the production platform. So what is the use case of these 3 firewall? The security group will be act as here, will be act as here firewall, right, for server level. And NACL, once again, will be act as here firewall for zone level. That will be as here firewall for application level. So that's the major difference. So once again, let me repeat, we do have 3 types of firewall: security group, NACL, and WAF. So it is your data center. This is your data center. And top of this data center, I would say here we do have Apache Tomcat application server. And it is Apache Tomcat application server. Here I do have SQL, MySQL server. Could you please go for mute? Yeah. Here we do have MySQL. Here we do have Apache Tomcat port number 8080. For MySQL port number 3306, right? And we do have Cockroach database, the port number which it is 21223. So let you consider we do have different server, and each server it is having different port number as well. So in this case, we cannot able to create the centralized firewall. I can go and create independent firewall. I mean, you need to create security group for each server. That is what I stated. When you go for security group, for independent server, you can create. So if you don't want to, allow the different port for different server, so we do have, 5 server. For all this server, I want to open, the port number, which it is 8080. In this case, I don't want to create multiple security group. We don't want to create one knuckle attached with your zone. Top of the zone, how many server which it is running. For all the server, it is going to allow the port number traffic which it is 8080. So in terms of creating 5 security group, or in terms of paying 5 security group, I can pay for one firewall, right, which it is called knuckle. So that is what I stated. knuckle will be act as a firewall for zone level. For multiple server, if it is running on top of the zone 1, for all the server, we want to whitelist the port number, I mean the centralized port number. If you want to whitelist, in terms of creating multiple security group, configure one knuckle. Under the knuckle, we can whitelist the centralized port number. It's gonna be allowing the traffic. So where the difference will make due to the cost. When you are when you are seeing the billing dashboard, in terms of paying multiple security group, in this case, I'm just going to pay for one firewall, which it is called knuckle. And top of the server, I just deployed, the application, which it is identity access management. Okay, so that is your application functionality. Let you consider. So for that application, what are the protocol traffic do you want to whitelist? I'm talking about application layer. So there I can use, WAF, particularly all the firewall we are going to see, right? So, but these are the major differ when you are using this, the firewall, so these are the major differ I could choose based on our requirement. Make sense? So we just created the data center. At this point in time, I'm just going to creating the security group. So let's try to create the security group. Right. So here under the security group, we could whitelist what are the ports if you want to allow to reach your, the target zones. Any questions? So did you understand what are the firewalls which it is available? Anybody do you have questions? Please, you can raise your question.
Karthik, what is this application level security? WAF. I'm sorry,
Yes.
that.
Yes. See, when I say the application, it is kind of one more production. Let you consider A0 or okay, A0 port number you have open for server level. But this A0 port number, everyone knows A0 it is for HTTP. So I'm a hacker. I'm trying to attack your, the server using by A0. Fine. So, but they're trying to attack our application. Here also, I can create one more firewall. So I don't want to allow A0. I can say only 443 traffic if I'm getting via A0. I can create the route. But the hitting it is happening with A0. We are masking that A0 instead of your server. So we can use WAF. Basically, WAF we are using for application layer. Somsiga. So application itself, if you want to protect, it's a one more security point of view, I would say.
Yeah, I meant to say the protection only for application, not the server, right?
Not the server, no. For the server protection, you can go with security group. For application protection, you can go with, WAF. Got it? Okay. So let us create a security group here. I'm just going back to the console. We can create security group and knuckle, and WAF also will be there. It's a different componency here. Fine. Let's see. I'm just going to creating the firewall, which it is security group. Let's try to create the security group over here. What's our naming conversion? IBM, and we are creating for dev environment, right? And your application, we have selected shortcuts and security group. I'm just creating. It is one, or we can say it's security group for web layer. So let's say this firewall used for dev environment, development environment. So this security group also we need to attach with your data center. And see, the firewall always it does two rule, right? One which it is inbound rule and outbound rule. In ingress and egress, we can call it as. So from an end user, what are the traffic do you want to whitelist? I want to, I'm just going to spin up Windows machine. So let's try to use RTP, right? For this protocol, it has the port number by default. It has taken 3389, and the source traffic. I mean, if you want to whitelist the IP traffic to reach this protocol, you can. So the source, it is three category: custom, anywhere, and my IP. When I go with the custom, it's nothing but let you consider Infosys sitting at Bangalore, sitting at Chennai, sitting at Mumbai. All these three location, they are having independent public IP, different public IP. So if you want to whitelist all this IP, you can whitelist using by custom. Anywhere means like you and me, anyone could able to access. My IP in the sense which I connected with my gateway. Let's say I have connected with my Wi-Fi. So if I have selected my IP, it is automatically going to pick my gateway IP. You can see 115.99.116, right? So you can see my IP, which it is what is my IP. You can see that my IP is 115.99.116. The same IP it has taken. So you can reserve your gateway IP. So this traffic only it is going to allow. If I choose anyone, IPv4 and IPv6, anyone could able to access. Or custom in the sense I can whitelist. Let's say I want to whitelist this IP. Let you copy this. I can come back whitelist, this IP. Then if you want to whitelist the 34.5.6.5, 7.32, I can whitelist. So this two traffic kind of we can allow. That is a major difference. So source it has three categories. At this point, I'm just going to choose, my IP. So it is, my gateway, you can say my gateway. And we want to allow HTTP traffic. You need to fetch your application. Let me open HTTP. So 1 second, let me whitelist our IP. I don't want to allow other traffic. Right, so then let's try to allow HTTPS. If I do have SSL certificate, I can enable this. Right now, it is not necessary. We don't have SSL certificate. We'll do bit later. SSL, SLO, all the stuffs. All right, and from the data center, of course, it is mandatory. You should open all traffic. Let it be. We don't want to do any changes from the data center to end user, but from an end user to data center, we need to whitelist. That is mandatory. So I'm just going to configure the security group. I just configure the security group over here as per the picture. So now let us try to deploy some application. I can go and deploy some application, which it is some free HTML template. Let's try to deploy. So we do have some free template. Then we will go for some, application, which it is Java application. So some dynamic application we can go and deploy top of your data center. So when I'm deploying this application, I need to bring up your database, your storage platform, your load balancer, your secret value, your SSL certificate, your TNS, all the stuffs let us try to build. Or we can use WordPress application a bit later. At this point in time, let us try to deploy, some static application to understand how to deploy. So basically, if you go for deploying the application, we need server. So here, in terms of server, we can call it as instance, right? So when I want to spin up the server, I mean instance, I need OS platform. Here in terms of calling OS, I can call it as AMI, Amazon, Amazon Vision Image, right? Amazon Vision Image, so which it is nothing but your OS. And the hardware, it has 5 types. So we used to call it as instance family. When I say instance family, which it is nothing but your hardware, right? So which it is nothing but your hardware. So let's say instance, when I'm spinning up of your server, I need your OS and your hardware as well, right? So the instance family, it has 5 types. First one, which it is general purpose and compute optimize, and general purpose compute optimize, GPU optimize, right? And storage optimize, and one more, which it is memory optimize. So 5 categories of hardware by default which it is available. Under these 5 types, once again, each type it has many types. If I go for general purpose, we do have T series, M series. I will show you. So these are the hardware. Let me go back to EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud. Right? You can see. So I can go back to launch your EC2 instance. I'm launching. See, this is your AMI, Amazon Machine Image. I can choose Linux, or you can choose Mac server, or you can choose Red Hat or Windows, all the flavors which it is available. Now let's try to spin up Windows at this point. Then most of the cases we are going to spin up Linux. So let me choose Windows 2016. Already we have discussed your virtualization pattern, which it is HVM. Let me choose 64-bit. See, this is what I told you, instance family. When I say instance family, you can see T series, which it is nothing but general purpose. T series, which it is nothing but general purpose. If I go for T series, you can see under the T series multiple category. T2 Nano, it has 1 core, 1 virtual CPU, and you can see the RAM, and EBS, which it is nothing but elastic block storage. So the cloud platform, they are having the volume pattern, which it is called ephemeral storage. So once if you terminated the server, your entire data also will be terminated. So before terminating the server, take the snapshot or max shot from the particular server. And if you go for C series, which it is representing compute optimization, you can see more processor will be there, more core also will be there. And you can see G series graphics unit. If you do have any animation application, for that animation application, we need more graphics, right? So you can choose that. And M series, which it is nothing but memory optimization. I is nothing but same GP graphics. M, which it is nothing but memory, and last one R, which it is nothing but storage. So this is, we can call it as instance family, right? I can choose T2 micro, one virtual CPU and 1 GB RAM. Let us try to choose. At this point, free tier eligible only this, but in upcoming session, we are going to use different hardware. So these all are the hardware if you're going to choose would be come under the paid service, but we have to do hands-on. Let us pick it up in future. So I'm just going to next dashboard. This dashboard is quite important. See here, how many server do you want to spin up? Simultaneously, you can spin up 100 server or 200 server. If you want to spin up, you can able to do that, right? And let's say if I need a 10 server, I can do at this point, one server would be fine. Purchasing option. Could you remember we have discussed the spot instance auction? So if I go for T2 micro in this zone, if I'm ready to pay this dollar, I can take that mission for 1 hour. Auction, right? A network, we have created that VPC. This server, let us try to deploy on top of your data center. And right, and you can see that under that VPC, I do have 2 data centers, so I can choose any one of this zone. You can see available IP is 11, but available IP yesterday we discussed it is 16. You can see, right? Yesterday we have discussed if I go for 28, it should be 16. Out of 16, you can do -2, so it will be 14. But why it is popping 11? Right? You can see here available IP is 11. So when you are reserving that IP from the total range, the cloud seller will reserve 5 IPs. So what are the IP in the sense? First one is network ID. So network ID they are going to reserve, and first IP, that is in interview question as well. So first IP they are going to reserve, and second IP they are going to reserve. Last IP, reserve, and broadcast. You can see 5 IP. So cloud seller always will reserve 5 IPs from the total range. Out of 16, you can do -5, so it will be 6, 11. Let's say if I have selected 10.0.0.0.0, that is network ID, and 10.0.0.1 first IP, and 10.0.0.2 second IP. Last IP would be anybody? 10.0.0.0. 14.
15. 1 5.
15,
1 5.
No, 15 is broadcast. 14
Okay.
is, yeah. So 15 is your broadcast, then 16 would be next IP. That is what 0 to 15, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Even Azure also, you can see if you go for Azure also, all the cloud seller, by default, they are reserving 5 IPs from the total range. So that's the reason it is popping only 11 IPs are available, right? And public IP. So in AWS, we are having 2 types of public IP. So types of public IP. Will please go for mute. Mallikarjun. Ajay. Arjun, could you please? Fine. So 2 types of public IP. One which it is public IP, and another one, elastic IP. What's the major difference? So public IP, it's nothing but dynamic IP. It is dynamic. It's dynamic IP, and elastic IP, it's nothing but static IP. So this option, it is nothing but dynamic IP. I mean, once if you terminated that server, IP will be deleted from your account by default. When you go for elastic IP, once if you terminated the server, also the IP will be reserved for your account. that is elastic IP. For the production platform, mostly we used to prefer elastic IP, but cost effect will be there. When you go for public IP, the cost would be, per hour they are charging 6 rupees. I'm sorry, 4 rupees per hour they're charging. But when you go for elastic IP, they're charging double of, I think so. Yeah, it's 8 rupees, I believe. No, 12 rupees. They're charging for elastic IP. So elastic IP, it's nothing but it is static IP. Once if you terminated, I can, that cloud seller reserved those IP which you purchased. It will be reserved for your account. How many elastic IP are we able to buy? 5 elastic IP we can able to buy in the particular region. More than 5 IP we can't, right? So this point in time, I'm just going to enable the dynamic public IP. It is not a static public IP, it is a dynamic public IP. Let's try to enable. So in this dashboard, I have selected the data center and I just enable public IP. Placement group. In AWS, we do have, two groups. One which it is placement group, another one, subnet group. The difference. Placement group is for web layer and it is for DB layer. Let's say, see, usually when I'm sorry, when you are defining that web layer, I mean, for Flipkart application, I need 100 server that you consider, right? So then only we could able to divide the load equally to the multiple server. So ideally we could sustain our high availability over there. See for 100 server, let you think the bandwidth. We just reserved the bandwidth. I mean, 100 Mbps we have reserved with the cloud seller for my 100 server, right? So people they have started to hitting of your application. So some server, let's say first server it is consuming 5 Mbps. Second server it is consuming 8 Mbps. Third server it is consuming 10 Mbps. See, dynamically it is consuming your bandwidth. So approximately 50 users does sufficient bandwidth. Rest of 50 server does not have the sufficient bandwidth. Definitely we may face the performance issue. In this case, to avoid this performance issue, we are having the option which it is called placement group. When you go for the placement group, I can reserve, I mean, you can reserve the static bandwidth. So 2 Mbps for 100 server. Once if you reserve the 100 server, you can put into the placement group. The placement group is going to, monitor your bandwidth more than 2 Mbps. It will not allow to consume any one of the server. So statically, we can reserve, the bandwidth, the size for all the server. The placement group, it's going to be equally distributing those bandwidth, the concurrent bandwidth to the multiple server. So that is called placement group. When I say the subnet group, I do have the database. Let you consider, I do have MySQL. So when you go for database, we need to create 2 database. One would be considered primary, another one considered secondary, right? So from the primary to secondary, when you are configuring the RPO policy, recovery pointing object, replication is happening between these 2 database. So the primary database should be zone 1 and secondary should be in different zone or different region. Let's say if it is in different zone, zone C, the 2 subnet, we need to make it as a group for replication. That is called, subnet group. It is interweave question. So basically, if you go for any high level application deployment, these are the components it's pretty important. So the stakeholder will expect how can we achieve the high availability, and what are the components are we going to integrate for web and GP layer? How can we equally distributing of your concurrent bandwidth of MBBS to the multiple server using by this? Make sense? Any questions? Right. So that is what it is adding into the placement group. At this point, we did not create any placement group. I can create. So let's say it is for web. So once if I created this server, it's going to be adding into this placement group. So by default, it is taking as a cluster. You can see, right? So once if it is taken the cluster, it's going to be equally distributing that bandwidth to multiple server. Let's see that. And the capacity reservation. Okay. So this capacity domain, we'll discuss bit later. Shut down this, all this stuffs, we'll discuss bit later because some dependency components we need to understand. So then we will come back. In this dashboard, what I have selected, your network part, IP section, placement group. Then scroll down. Here, you can define your private IP. Can I reserve the private IP 10.0.0.2? Can I reserve this IP for the server?
No.
No. Can I reserve one?
No, first and second IP is already used.
And 14?
No, it's a last IP.
Great. So these are the IP already, the cloud seller they have reserved. So first IP they have reserved for DNS, and second they have reserved for DHCP, and third they have reserved for internet gateway. So we cannot able to use any one of this IP. None of the IP we can't. So let us reserve 11. Is it fine? Yeah. So the subnet is not having. We are deploying in subnet 2. Let's see. That's what it's telling. Yeah, subnet web 2. Okay, so let's say DP1. So now I think so it will allow. Previously it was popping that error, right? So now you can see, because that is started from 16 to 31. So that's the reason 11 it was not that. Now it is allowing. One more IP also you can configure. I mean, the private IP also you can configure, not an issue. Right. When you are deploying two applications, we require two IPs. So this is for deploying the shell script. We'll discuss a bit later. In this dashboard, I have selected IPs and the network. Let me go to the storage. So 30 GB they are allowing for a free tier account. Max 30 GB, more than 30 GB they are not allowing. Let it be. And the volume types it has, they have added two more. So totally they do have 5 types: SSD and GP. When if it is popping GP in the sense version. Okay, so GP version 1, general purpose version 1, version 2. Previously it was 1. Now they are upgraded into 3. And IOPS, it is quite fast to write input output per second. Compare SSD, it is quite fast. Magnetic disk, it's a normal disk, so I can go with SSD at this point in time. And do you delete on termination? It's nothing but when you are terminating the server, do you want to terminate your volume? No, in real time, but now I need. So if I disable it, the volume will not get terminated. After terminate your server, the volume will be there in your account. You can restore. But I don't want to keep volume for testing purpose right now. We don't want to keep it in my account because pricing dashboard will be there. And encryption. So still we did not create any encryption file. We need to buy KMS key. Yesterday we discussed a service ID, KMS key, I mean key management service. Yeah, that's right. So we need to buy, we'll buy a bit later. Right. And add tags. So I'm just going to add the tag, which is Windows Windows web server. Just creating the tag name and configuring security group. See, this is your security group. I mean your firewall. So firewall for your server level. That is what I told you. So when you are creating the server, you can attach your firewall. I'm just going to choose your firewall which we created. So the port number RTP and HTTP. Now I'm just going to launch the server. This is your review dashboard. Let's try to launch. Keeper is very important. When I say keeper, it is password. Okay. So the keeper in AWS, we need to generate the keeper. So the keeper extension is .pim. .pim. So when I say .pim, it's nothing but privacy enhanced main. That is the expansion. Using by PIM file, you can log in into Windows. But when you go for Linux, .ppk file, it's nothing but private key. So using for Linux, how can we convert PIM to ppk? You can download that file putigen.exe. Using by this application, we could able to convert PIM to ppk file. So these all are all this keeper. It is based on RS algorithm 4096. That is your algorithm, right? But in Azure, you need to generate. You can create OTP or you can create SSH key gen password as well. But in AWS, by default they are providing the keeper. The extension it should be .pay. So make sure the keeper and EC2 instance has to be in the same region, should not be in the different region. So I'm just going to download the keeper. It is asking us to choose the existing keeper, but let's try to create the new keeper. I'm just going to create Singapore 3. That is our keeper. Let me try to download. Now let's try to launch the instance. Okay, not so. Okay. See, under the free tier account, the placement group, especially for this hardware, it is not supporting. So I can go and disable placement group right now. So now I could able to launch Singapore 3 and let's see. Yeah. So now the server it is bringing up Windows web server. Let me save the keeper. I'm just going to save the keeper at the particular location and the keeper. So I'm just keeping all the keeper over here. Fine. So now it is spinning up the instance status, which should be initializing. You can see all the descriptions over here. Your public IP, private IP, DNS, and your elastic IP we did not enable. Let us enable it later. The data receiver, all the information will be there. So let us try to connect with your Windows machine. So before deploying this application to the Windows machine, we need to install the web server. What other web server do we have in Windows? I would say IIS, Internet Information Service. That is the web server for Windows. Or we can use Apache Tomcat. So the port number for IIS it is port number for IIS which it is 80 and Apache Tomcat which it is 8080 for Windows, right? And for Linux, what other web server do we have for Linux, which it is, I would say Nginx. So NGINX port number 80, HTTPD port number 80, and Apache 2 port number 80, Apache Tomcat port number 8080, JBoss port number 80. Any other sorry, this is not web server, it is application server. Application server. What's the major difference between web and application server, web server and application server? Do you know that difference? Anybody? So web server in the sense, it should be in two different compute platform. So your application, let's say Paytm application will be in one server, your HTTPS protocol will be in one server. So the web server will receive the traffic, will redirect to application server, that is web server. When you go for application server, your web server and application server will be in one compute. So who want to access within the server itself doing routing, that is application. Even Apache to HTTP also would be considered application server. You can see Apache Tomcat, Apache Tomcat, is it a application or web server? You can say it is application server. Tomcat. Tomcat is a web server, but Apache Tomcat is application server. See, some may call application server, but usually we used to call application server. Make sense? Any questions so far? So let us try to install IAS. So let me pass over here. Do you have any questions you can raise, or else let me continue that? Anybody? Is it audible? Hello? Hello, is it audible?
Yes, Karthi is
yes.
audible.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, sir, it's audible.
Okay, thank you. So do you have any questions, guys? Fine. So let me log into this Windows machine. How can we log in the sense, you right click and go to connect. You can download RDP client over here. Who all are using Windows, you just try to download RDP, or if you do have your own RDP, you can use that. For me, I just downloaded that RDP file, which it is. I'm just going to open my RDP. So let me try to connect with the server at PC, so I can go and connect your the server IP. Just trying to connect, and here let me try to connect with the server. So username, which it is. How can we generate the username? Right click and connect. So here RDP, let us generate that password and username. Username is administrator, that is default. Then we will create a user after the session and generate the password. I can go and browse your key pair, which we downloaded. So Singapore 3, this key pair I want to upload. So it is your password, RSA, I told you, right? So 4096. So you just decrypt the password, then it will generate one more password, copy and paste over here. So now you could able to log in with your server. Now you can see it is connecting to the server. So after logged into the server, let us try to install IIS web server. Then we could deploy our application. Fine. So we are into the server. Let's try to install IIS package over here. I'm just going to see for this server, we have reserved IP, which it is 10.0.0.11. You can see 10.0.0.11, the IP should be there. You can see that, which we reserved. So let's try to open your server dashboard. You can see server manager, go to server manager dashboard. And here you can deploy your package, which it is IIS, add roles and future. Okay, just collecting the inventory data. So let's try to, yeah. So add roles and future. Now I can install IIS. You just go to next. Right now we don't have any domain, so that's the reason I'm just skipping all the steps and try to installing IIS package. See web server IIS. I'm trying to install this package. Next, and no, there is no dependency. Let me install the package of IIS. So once installed, all the application layer, it has the deployment path. Application as well web layer, it has the deployment path. You can say, I would say here deployment path. Deployment path is very important when you are deploying the application. If you go for IIS, how can we deploy? You can go to C volume. Under the C volume, inet pub will be there. Under the inet pub, www root will be there. So here, we can deploy, you can deploy your application. If you go for Apache Tomcat /user location /local /share, right? So /share, so then here you can see the Tomcat. Here you can deploy your application. Right. And when you go for when you go for Nginx, once again /user here share, sorry, here it should not come share, here it should come web apps, and here I would say share and /nginx and /html. In this path you can deploy. And HTTPD /web, it's generic, that HTML here. And HTTPD also will be same. Apache 2 will be same. Apache 2, Apache Tomcat, the location is here, extracted file will be there, and next to that web apps will be there. Here we used to deploy. JBus, same /var, and this is the path. So this deployment path is very important. In this deployment path only we could deploy our application. Let's say I'm just going to deploy the application in this location. You can come back to the server. It is installed. Now IIS is installed. Let me go to C volume. I'm just going to C volume. Right. So here C volume. And next to one inet pub will be there. You can see inet pub will be there. So I'm just going to inet pub. www root will be there. You can see www root. Then here I can deploy, your application. I'm just going to delete the default application. Let's try to download some application from the internet. I'm just going to download some application. Let's say just trying to download this application, and I'm just going to extract this application. Let's say extracting this application. Fine. See this application. I'm just going to copy. Just copying this file and go back, paste it over here. So after paste, now you can see whoever want to ping this application, the server DNS, the firewall should allow the traffic to reach our server. Then we could understand from yesterday, what we have created from yesterday onwards, we just built the data center, now we deployed application, right? We could understand, the data center, whether does it is, allowing or not. So you can copy your public AP or you can copy your public DNS. I'm just copying public DNS of the server. I'm trying to fetch the DNS. I can see your application. So the data center, it is allowing to reach or retrieve of your application. Make sense? So far, do you have any question?
But this is directly pinging the application, is it? So how do I check the server level?
Sorry?
How do I check in server level? It's directly, communicating with the application.
No, that is what I stated, right? So when after install web server, the web server is going to check this path. In this path, if you deploy the application, it will respond back. Getting my point?
Got it. But there was if you go back to the sheet, which there was I'm going to say in firewall, did you choose WAF so that
No. Right now, I see, still I did not start any real-time stuffs. Okay, I'm just showing the fundamental. Probably from tomorrow onwards, we are going to jump into the real-time stuffs. There I can configure WAF, NACL, all the stuffs. Now, people should understand how to create that EC2 instance, how to create the VPC. So from tomorrow, let's try to build some scenario. Multiple data center. We are not going to work with the one data center. For dev, we need to create one data center. For production, it should be different data center. From dev to production, I want to do the replication. So we'll understand. Yeah.
And one more thing. So when using IAS, so we can deploy the application directly on the IAS, right? So why we have to go and deploy it in different location? We can do it
No,
through IAS, right?
actually, your network, I think so. It is a
Is
problem.
is it okay now?
Yeah, it is clear now.
Yeah, I'm going to say when we're using IAS, we can deploy the application on IAS directly, right? Why are we using this path to deploy an application? We can just directly use IAS, right? If you go to the IAS,
Okay. Okay.
yeah, we can host the application here.
Where?
So we can,
Where will you host?
hold on. If you click on start again, click on start. No, not that, the Windows button. Use the Windows button.
Okay.
Like iNet manager, you go to the iNet manager.
Okay.
iNet MGR. Okay, just type IAS. Remove everything is on. Just type IAS.
Because that's what I'm just confused. Within, see, IAS is a package. It is not, the application. So when I'm installing the package within the server manager dashboard itself, we can write.
Yeah, but what's the point of using IAS now here?
No,
I understood you deployed the application in that location, but how it is connected to IAS?
A0 port number. See, if I'm pinging that, application via DNS, we have opened the port A0, right? The A0 port is hitting our application. So here IAS is redirecting the traffic A0 to this application.
So where, for instance, now the port is 80. So what if I have to secure that port? So where do I do it? Like, directly go to the deploy path, or do I use IAS to, install the certificate on that or such stuff?
Yes, that is for domain security, right? Not for application security. When you're uploading the certificate, it is for domain. So which one you want to protect now?
Yeah, no, I want to see, where the IAS was, installed and the application can be hosted, right? The number of application, how many number of application you have, everything can be hosted directly on IaaS.
Right.
So that thing can be here.
No, I'm not understanding. See, we have hosted application, correct?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes.
I think you can go to run and type ISMG, iNet MG.
Anything.
Go to run. Type run. Here you type iNet MG. Yeah. MGR. Here is talking about it.
Yes. Can you elaborate that?
This will be the default location for IIS.
Go to the sites or the application.
Okay.
So here
It's talking about
we can directly deploy the application here, right?
That is what this is our application, right?
Okay.
That is what I have deployed over here. See here.
Yes. The path is same, I think.
That's what
Yeah,
Shankar.
correct.
Instead of going this, I just deployed in this path itself. So it is
Okay.
redirecting over here. Make sense?
yeah. Even if you don't copy this package, the default web page will be open if you run it.
Yes. If yes, you are right. So I just deleted the default page. Instead of I deployed this application.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so any questions so far? See, and don't keep your server in running state. I just showed you how to create. Tomorrow, let us try to understand Linux part, and we'll kickstart some real-time project as well over here.
Karthik, one quick question.
Yeah, please.
So if you deployed multiple applications the same server, right? How do you access the selected application?
You need to customize the port number for each web server. You need to customize the port number.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And Karthik, so yesterday we created an VCP, right? Our data center. So where did you choose to link, choose to deploy this server under that data center?
Okay, so right now let me terminate this server. So where you need to sync up with your data center in the sense while launching, and here you can choose your data center.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I think so. You check your network, Somshekhar. It's hardly to hear you.
Yeah, I'll check it. Yeah.
Okay, fine. And DevOps, who has taken, I think so. I do have the Excel sheet. Probably Monday or Tuesday, we are going to start. The timing would be 7 to 8. I'll update you. So we are going to create a different WhatsApp group for DevOps. So we guys, will meet up from Monday for DevOps. I'm talking about. Sure.
Hi, Karthik.
Yes, Vivek.
Currently, you terminated that web server, right? So
Yes.
after that files are there, or it will be deleted?
It will be deleted. I did not take any backup. See here, I did
Okay.
not take any backup. So right now, not necessary. So it is deleted.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool then, guys. So for regarding DevOps, probably I will ping you in the separate WhatsApp group. Okay. So for AWS, we'll meet up on tomorrow. Cool then.
Okay.
Thank you all. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.